So I'm continuing to work on the hood on the 46 Dodge, and I did a lot of welding on this edge right here, and I just kept working on it and filing it with a machine file until I got that thing to be pretty close. There might be a little bit more work to do, but I think I need to body work the nose of this thing first before I do any more to the hood, because I don't know if the nose is perfectly straight now since I had welded on it previously. And so I'll finish that up later. I'm going to do the other side now. So I'm going to show you the other side. This is where I left off, and it's touching a little here. I got to file a little off there, file a little off here, and then I got to do some filling up in this area. And that's pretty much the same as what the other side was before I filled the edge. So I'm finished welding this edge. You can see I actually welded a copper right on the edge of that. Got it too hot. It's the first time I ever did that before. But yeah, I put that bead on there. Now I'm going to have to grind it off and file it. And this is working really good, putting this copper on here. I can bend it to the exact radius and really soak up the heat. Seems like longer pieces are better. It soaks up more heat. Okay, so there's the hood after I got done welding it on the edge and grinding it down. I filed it. I had to do some dolly work because it did shrunk a little bit. And my 3/16 body lines are pretty good. I got a little bit of grinding to do off the back edge just to get everything perfect. But it's coming along real nice. I think that's the best way to go, is keep all the panels separate, then I can dolly them all separately and do all the finished paint and body work, and I can stick them on there and I don't have to worry about rust in between the panels. Okay, so I'm working on the 46 Dodge again, and I added these pieces. It's made out of the 3/4 inch square thin wall tube, and that gives me a nice area to weld some flanges on the side of here. And then I'm going to take these studs right here, and I'm going to put those all over the hood and connect it in enough places that it doesn't flap around. I'll probably end up putting one more piece of tube in front right here, and that way I'll be boxed all the way around the whole entire scoop, and should be connected good so it doesn't flap around. Okay, I got the hood up, and I got a few clamps on there holding that half of the hood onto the framework. And what I did was I took these brackets which I made, and this way I can kind of get a marker through that hole, and I put that line all the way down there, and I did it everywhere where I was going to put some studs. I guess some of these things here I may have to stick 2 holes in, because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get the studs through the hole. These will be easy, but here on the side over here I may have to have it bolt from 2 directions, maybe through here, something like that, and then have a stud on this. So I'm thinking there's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 studs on each one of these, plus a couple of bolts going up through or studs in the front down in this area. So there's going to be quite a number of bolts on each side of this thing, but I think it's the best way to keep it from flopping around and make it secure with some really small studs, and then I can put shims on them. So I bought this stud welder from Harbor Freight, and I was going to try to use it on my hood to put these little studs onto the hood to hold the hood onto the one-piece front end, and I just don't think it's meant for this job. It's meant really to put these bigger studs on, and those are really meant to go on very thin sheet metal, and this metal from the truck is probably about 1.5 to 2 times thicker. The other thing I noticed is it's leaving lumps, and I really don't want to have to dolly all these lumps out of the hood. So I guess I'm stuck with the fact that I'm going to have to TIG weld all those little studs onto the hood. So I TIG welded that stud on there with 4 spot welds, and it looks like it actually sucked the material from the other side and didn't leave a bump. Okay, you can see these 2 little spots where I had to heat up a little higher, maybe I held the torch on a little bit longer. Those 2 spots. These other spots are all high spots. So in general it feels like it actually went down, which is what I want, because then I can fill that with body filler. I don't want to have to dolly all these spots out. That would be horrible. So I put a pair of vice grips on that and wiggled it back and forth till I broke it off, and you can see it sheared at the threads. So that's about as good as a connection as I'm going to get without distorting the entire hood. So I kind of like that. I'm going to start working on the hood now. Okay, so there's my setup. Got the hood sitting on my table. It's looking a little blurry there. It's I got this bag. It's got sand in it and it's leather, and then I got this piece of steel on there, and it's holding everything in place so that I can weld this and not have to try to hold it steady. So it looks like I had my heat a little too high and did a little burn through. And I got a little small bit of warpage, but at least it's down. So I'm going to have to turn my heat down and grind all that off, and I should be okay. Hopefully I won't have any more burn through on the next one. So my second one didn't come out as bad as my first one. I didn't add any rod, and I didn't have as much burn through. And if I just hit that with a file, I think it'll go away, and it just barely moved the metal at all. Okay, so that's how I'm going to try to keep them right there. That's 4 tacks and no added rod, and that seems to work pretty good. So there's all the studs welded onto the hood, and I need to take those 2 little pieces of sheet metal with the blue paint. I need to take them off. I'm not going to be using those anymore, so I'll grind those off now, and I'll show you the other side to show you how the welds worked out. So you can see that the burn through is pretty minor. Got a little over hot here and there. It's the original one that I ground down. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'll try putting it on. I don't think it warped the hood at all. So I put the hood on and got it pretty close. It's not perfect, but it's pretty decent. I got 3 clamps on it, and now I'm going to be able to put it up, and I'll be able to get the brackets on to connect all those studs I made. So that top bracket up there is the one that I just stuck on there with the nut, and I put about 3/16 washers up there, and I'm going to tack that on and then put the hood back down and make sure it's in the correct location, and I'll weld it all the way across, and I'll repeat that with all the studs up there. So there's all the brackets welded onto the one-piece front end and bolted onto the hood, and everything's lining up pretty good. I didn't make it perfectly aligned, but it's pretty close. It's close enough that I can shim it now and get it where I want it. And so there it is down, and that's it for the one-piece front end hood. I'm gonna not show the other side because it's gonna be the same thing over again. So take it easy.